what they have available, but I want to very quickly just discuss to you. You're going into a city now that has a very long biblical history. Bethlehem, it starts all the way in the book of Genesis. And I want to just start with a quick level of layers of history that you're going to be walking through today. First time it's mentioned is when Jacob, the grandson of Abraham, 4,000 years ago, was traveling on this very same road from Samaria through, it wasn't Jerusalem then, because there was no Jerusalem. And he was coming through this very road heading to Bethlehem. And his wife, Rachel, his favorite wife, he had 4. She's referred to the one. How would you like to be one of 3 wives and know that Rachel's the one your husband loves?
What a pig.
Wouldn't that be? What a pig. And you know, those wives negotiated who got to have the husband each night. I mean, it was really bizarre. I just wrote a commentary on Genesis and dealt with all that. Man, am I glad we have monogamy. Janet said so too. So, Jacob is coming here with his family, his 4 wives. They're on donkeys. Rachel is pregnant, very pregnant, 9 months. And when she gets near Bethlehem, she gets off her camel and she delivers the baby, and she dies in childbirth. The baby's name is Benjamin, son of my sorrows. The maid says, rejoice, it's a son. Even though she's dying, you had a boy. And that tomb is still there to this day. Now just think really quickly. How many of you know where your great-grandparents are buried? We have a few because you've done genealogical research. You have made an effort. But look at that, only 3 hands were raised on the bus. Think about this. Rachel was buried there 4,000 years ago. The children of Israel went into Egypt for 400 years. The United States isn't even 300 years old yet. They went into Egypt for 400 years. 40 years wandering in the wilderness. They came all the way back here for 365 years. They're back in the land. So that's 800 years from the time she was buried on the side of the road. And King Saul loses his donkeys 800 years later. And he said to Samuel the prophet, can you help me find my donkeys? Samuel the prophet said, go to the tomb of Rachel and you'll find your donkeys. They don't forget those things over here. They remember where their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was buried. And you can still go to that tomb today. If you watch our movie on David, you can go. We went in there with our filming crew in the synagogue there. So that is one level of history that happened there. Then you come to the next story. Who remember the story of Ruth? She was a Moabitess from the country of Moab on the other side, a foreigner. Naomi and her family, there was a famine. They went across, Elimelech and Naomi and their 2 sons. The sons married 2 daughters in Moab. The sons and the husband died. There's just Naomi and her 2 daughter-in-laws. Ruth, her daughter-in-law, the Moabitess, says, where you go, I will go. Where you die, I will die. Your God will be my God. And she came back to Bethlehem with her mother-in-law Ruth, and she married Boaz. Boaz and her had a baby named Obed. Obed had a baby named Jesse. Jesse had a baby named David, right in Bethlehem. David was born there. It said he was ruddy and a handsome man. Ruddy means red. He probably had like a lighter complexion, maybe red hair, and he was very handsome. The youngest of all of the brothers. King Saul was doing a poor job, so Samuel came and anointed David in Bethlehem to become the new king of Israel. David rose to power, and he was a great king. The next thing that happens in the history that we come in contact, there's other things, but I'm just talking the major ones, is that Micah the prophet in chapter 5, verse 2, he says, "O Bethlehem, too small among the clans of the nations, and yet from you will come the great king." So the Jews knew that the king, that their Messiah was going to come from Bethlehem. 400 years later, a baby is born in a cave. Think about this though. Joseph is coming on the same road with his wife. She's 9 months pregnant. What do you think they thought of when they went past the tomb of Rachel?
She died.
Rachel died, and now Mary is coming on the same road. She's 9 months pregnant. And they can't even find a place to give birth to the baby. Don't think if you're the husband that you wouldn't think as you went by, oh dear God, please protect my wife that she doesn't die here. Just like our matriarch Rachel did. Jesus is born in a cave. We're going to have Mass in another cave where the shepherds were that first night when the angels came down and announced the birth of the Messiah. Then King Herod sent his soldiers to kill the infants under 2 years old. All these things happened 2,000 years ago in a cave you're going to go visit today. And you're going to touch the place where that baby was born. Then the next level of history is 400. The Justin Martyr, John Chrysostom, they wrote that even at this late date, 395 AD, John Chrysostom, doctor of the church, writes, even at this late date, people come from around the world to visit the cave where the baby was born. No one forgot where that cave was. That cave has been marked from the very first day, and you're seeing it. There's no question that what you're touching is the place where that baby was born. And then the next thing that happened there is Jerome lived in the caves under this church. St. Jerome, doctor of the church, and he translated, do you know the name of the Catholic Bible, the authoritative text? The Vulgate, have you heard of that? The Latin Vulgate? Jerome translated the Bible from the Hebrew and the Greek into the Latin Vulgate in the 300s in the caves down under there where Jesus was born. He was from Rome, but he said he had to leave Rome because that was such a wicked city. He said he could not get the dancing girls out of his mind. He moved out here to the desert of Bethlehem, and he spent the rest of his life living in the caves, translating the Bible from Hebrew and Greek into the Latin Vulgate. There's just some of the levels of history. Then more centuries come on. You've got the Crusaders, and the Muslims keep us from coming, and then the Crusaders freed up and everything else. And the next thing in history that happened is on September of 2019, Legatus comes as ambassadors, and you are now coming to see the place of Jesus' birth and to say thank you to God for sending his son to come down to earth to become one of us. There you have just a quick overview of Bethlehem, so that when you go, you'll realize you're walking through 4,000 years of biblical history.